Welcome. My name is Wendy Gaylor, and I'm with the Bedford Area Chamber, and we're here today with Chamber Vibes. And we're talking with Grace Peterson, Executive Director of the Bedford Museum and Genealogical Library. And welcome, Grace.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We are so excited to talk about Bedford's history and the women that have made such an impact on Bedford and the whole community and leadership in Bedford. So for this month, I am just thrilled to have you on. You can't even know how excited I was when you were available this month, because I know that you guys have featured many women on your Facebook and all of your social media, and of course at the library, at the museum. And so it's just been exciting to see those stories unfold and really come to life on the social media posts. So I just thought we really have to showcase these stories and really get them out there in the community. So thank you so much for being a part of today. And I want to introduce you properly. You've graduated from Liberty University in 2015 with a degree in history, of course. And you began working at the museum in 2015 with as business and archives manager, responsible for curating exhibits and assembling semi-annual newsletter and managing different projects. And in July of 19, you were promoted to executive director. And how exciting to see those changes and that role for you. You were responsible for the management of the museum and procuring grants and different projects, managing projects, continuing the museum's mission to preserve and educate, commemorate the history of Bedford from 1754.
A lot longer than 1900.
1754. I mean, it's just incredible. And truly, it just excites me to think about all of the different history, the different people, and the historical buildings, and everything that we have here in Bedford is so important. And you just bring those to life every single day. So I know that you love your job, and people need to hear about it and hear about all the different impacts that you're making there. So let's just kind of start it off with our listeners getting to know a little more about you and what brought you to the museum.
So like you said, I did graduate in 2015 and started at the museum in September. Prior to that, I had done a temporary summer job and was kind of, feeling out what I wanted to do post-graduate, if I wanted to move, if I want to stay local, if museum work is what I wanted to do. And a week before my temporary job ended, I got a notification on Facebook that one of my professors had posted about a job opportunity and to contact him if interested. Went to bed that night thinking, no, I'm not going to do it. Woke up, of course, feeling guilty and saying, you need to get over there and see what that job is. So the rest is kind of history. I got hooked up with the Bedford Museum, and that's kind of how I started, was through a Facebook post. So
wow. And to think about how that one day changed your life and how you've become a leader in Bedford and doing wonderful things at the museum. We're so excited to share. So as we're telling people about who you are and what you do, what is your favorite hobby?
It might be a little off base, but my favorite hobby is finding new hobbies.
I love that.
I can never quite pick one to stick to. I like to kind of put my hand in all the jars, come back to them a couple years later. So that's my favorite hobby, is finding new ones. Yep.
Well, how wonderful is that? I do think that people that are very creative have those type of answers, because you have so much creativity in you that you just want to learn different things, and that's exciting. So who has been your biggest influence in your life? Who's really kind of made the biggest impact?
I mean, in a general answer, my family. Both my parents, my father and mother. We've definitely had some obstacles in our life, and just seeing them navigate life in such a gracious, generous way has definitely been a huge influence in my life. So my parents, for sure.
Well, I can say I've met them both, and I respect both of them. They are wonderful, phenomenal people. Great, great family. So let's talk about some of the women and the ones that you featured, on your Facebook posts, on social media, and also in the museum, and who you've picked and why you picked them, because I think it's exciting stories. And then later we want to make sure that we cover the student essays too.
Okay. So yes, Bedford has some pretty incredible women in our history. Since we do collect from 1754 through today, that's quite a big net that we cast. We've got policewomen, nurses, wives, saleswomen, business owners. So today I picked out a couple of them that kind of hit different spots in our history. The first one is Beatrice Polly Daniel Smith. She was the first policewoman in Bedford. A native of Bedford, born in June of 1917. In April of 1938, she married Harry W. Smith in Bedford County. They later had 3 children, 2 sons and a daughter. She was hired November 19th, 1956, as the first female police officer for the Bedford Police Department. Her duties included being the crossing guard near the Bedford High School, and also checking parking when she wasn't on school duty. She was paid an entire $1 an hour during her service, and she did continue on the police force for over 20 years. She was always known for her humor and not letting the men on the force get away with too much. She did pass away in June of 1990 and is buried in Greenwood. So that's one of the ladies we featured on our past Facebook post. Another one is Mary Oni Pfizer. She was a Civil War nurse. We do have quite a bit of different items in the museum on display about Mary Oni Pfizer. But some of the most noted things about her was during the Civil War, or the war between the states, she nursed both the sick and wounded. We had several hospitals set up in the town, mostly because we were the perfect town, close to a railroad, and several warehouses, kind of like the one we're in now, that would be perfect to transform into a hospital. So she was known for meeting the train at the stop, getting on board, going through each of the cars, checking to see any of the men that were wounded and needed any attention. She would gather the women of the town and get food together, meet them on that train with hot, fresh food as they made their way throughout the country. She was one of the regular nurses in Campbell Hospital, and that is where the Bauer Center is located today. She was over there. And her discharge was signed by Benjamin Blackford, who was the surgeon in charge, and she's one of the few nurses during the Civil War that actually received an official discharge. And that is also on display at the museum. She did die in June of 1901 and is also buried in Longwood Cemetery. We do have on display, like I mentioned, several of her belongings. We have her second-day wedding dress, which if you have not seen, you must come out and look at it. It is an absolutely beautiful, intricate blue silk dress. It's beautiful, and it is a second-day wedding dress, which we can get into the history of that later, but it is interesting. A scarf, a table, and then we also have a painting that a Union soldier did of her while she was a nurse during the war and took care of him. And then, of course, we have even more on Mary Oni Pfizer in the museum that you can, of course, come check out. Our third woman that we wanted to talk about today is Dr. Carol Swain. She was featured in our February post, but she is a woman from Bedford County, born and raised. She is the second oldest of 12 children and lived in extreme poverty without running water or indoor plumbing. She shared the kitchen floor with 3 of her siblings. So she definitely came from nothing and arose to much. She dropped out after the 8th grade, was a mother to 3 by the time she was 20. The odds were definitely stacked against her from the time she was born, but she rose against the odds and pursued the American dream. She went on to get her GED, her undergraduate degree, and several postgraduate degrees. She's an award-winning political scientist, a former professor of political science and professor of law at Vanderbilt University. Before joining Vanderbilt in 1999, she was a tenured associate professor at Princeton. She is the author and editor to 8 books, the 9th on its way. Her first book, Black Faces, Black Interests, The Representation of African Americans in Congress, won the Woodrow Wilson Prize for the best book published in the U.S. on government, politics, or international affairs in 1999. And this book was cited twice by 2 separate Supreme Court judges on 2 separate cases. Dr. Swain's opinion has been published by several outlets, including the New York Times, the Washington Post, and USA Today. She has appeared on several broadcastings, including BBC Radio, NPR, Fox and Friends, ABC's Headline News, Fox News at Hannity, and the Washington Times. She did run for mayor in Nashville, where she strove to become the first African American to serve as mayor in the history of the city. She is currently a political commentator, author, public speaker, and podcast host of Be the People. She has recognized today that she has recognized where she is today is due to her hard work and perseverance. Another woman that we wanted to focus on is Virginia Brown. She is a native of Bedford County and a graduate from Montville High School. Shortly after high school, she joined the military. She did 2 tours of Korea aboard a hospital ship as a nurse with the Navy. She then signed on with the U.S. Public Health Service, eventually earning the rank of captain. She was stationed on the hospital ship USS Haven. The USS Haven was used as a hospital ship during World War II and the Korean War, and it was sold for scrap in 1987. Her Public Health Service uniform is on display at the museum, and the U.S. Public Health Service is an all-medical branch of the U.S. military. They are managed by the Office of the Surgeon General and respond to health emergencies all over the world, such as Hurricane Katrina, the 9/11 attack, any kind of major emergency they respond. In 2002, she was featured on the cover of the magazine Navy Medicine, and she's posed in front of the USS Haven. In 2013, she spoke with a group of students and said what drew her to her lifelong profession was the beautiful, crisp uniform she saw ladies wearing at the Medical College of Virginia. And then our last lady we want to talk about is Susie G. Gibson. I'm sure a lot of people have kind of heard that name circulate through the town the last couple of weeks, but she was born in 1878, married in 1926, and that was her second marriage, and that's where she got the Gibson name. She had never had any children, but had several stepchildren. She went to the segregated schools in the area and started teaching in 1909 in the little one-room schools. She started attending the Virginia State College for Negroes, and that was in Virginia in 1921. And after many years and attempts, she finally graduated from the school in August of 1943. So 22 years in college. That's a long time.
That is a long time.
That is a long time.
But these were all so good. All these features on the different women that you featured were just phenomenal and just pivotal in the community and made a huge impact on Bedford and of course beyond too, when they went on through their careers. So after this, I want to talk about some other things, then we'll come back and do some trivia questions on these individuals. So for the student essays, I know you had an essay that for the students from, second grade through eighth grade?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell our listeners about that competition and what they needed to do and who was the winner and all the details on that.
Okay. So every year in March, we host the Women's History Essay Contest, and that's where the winners are announced. In February, they submit them, and then judging goes through in March. This year, we actually don't have our winners yet. We will announce that on April 3rd. So it's Saturday, April 3rd. That's when they will be announced. So
these are second through eighth. So is that all of Bedford?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Bedford County.
Any Bedford County school. Honestly, any student in that age group can submit. We've had a couple of students from the Roanoke area submit, from Lynchburg. So it's not just Bedford, but we do focus mostly on Bedford students. This year's topic was about the American Revolution, so they had to pick a woman who was integral in the American Revolution. They could pick a family member. They can pick someone who was known and did something in the nation as a whole. They do get extra points for picking someone from Bedford. That's always kind of our little thing, so keeps kids thinking Bedford County. So the winners will be announced in a couple weeks. So you'll have to stay tuned to our Facebook page and see who's announced. Yep.
Everybody needs to stay tuned and watch your Facebook post to see who is going to be the winner. So make sure to stay tuned to the Bedford Museum and Genealogical Library to stay in tune to all of the history and all the facts and certainly the essay winner. So right now, let's do something really fun and play Women's History Trivia. And Grace, why don't you start us off with focusing on Bedford's history?
All right, so our first question is going to be, who was the famous town boarding house owner who was known for both her delicious food and her weight?
I love this one because she spoke to me because of her love of ice cream.
Oh, yes.
Mrs. Lucy Dennis.
Yes, that is Miss Lucy Dennis, all right. She was a spunky lady. All right, number 2. Who is believed to be the first and only African American from Bedford County to serve in the military during World War II?
Doris Reed.
Yep, she was the first that we at least believe. You can always find things later, but we believe that is who she is.
Yes, I read that one on your Facebook post. Read about her on your Facebook post. Okay, next one.
All right, this is a long one. She was an opera singer that started being cast as the Old Woman. a part she not only accepted but embraced as her own. She quickly became known as the old lady of the stage. She continued in the theater into her 80s and traveled all over the U.S. She was also known to perform in vaudeville and was in 2 early movies, Hearts and Flowers in 1914 and Barbara Freitchie in 1915. She retired to a small piece of land in Montvale and wrote her autobiography, Keeping Off the Shelf, which was published in 1928.
Okay, so let me know if I get her name right. Maria Fanny Blanche, Mrs. Thomas?
Mm-hmm.
Whiffen?
Yep. And she's actually one of the ladies we have featured on our banners. They just went up in town, so you can find her on a banner with some more information as well.
Awesome. Lots of history there. I love that.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's get another one.
All right. She is believed to be the first registered nurse from Bedford County.
Sarah Davis.
Yes. And there's a picture of her displayed on at the museum. All right. A Bedford native who has lived the true American dream, high school dropout to accomplished Vanderbilt professor, author, editor of 8 books, public speaker, podcast host, and political commentator. If you were paying attention, you would have had this one, wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Because you did talk about her. Dr. Carol Swain.
Yes. Dr. Carol Swain. Yes. Do we have 6?
Yeah, you can do one more.
Okay. All right. So the 6th one and the final one on my side is going to be the Bedford County historian. Her research found that in 1970, around 15% of those with PhDs were women, but only 1% of college history professors were women, and they were mostly in the lower ranks. A survey in 2007, women made up about 35% of history departments. Her report is known as the Rose Report, and if you tuned into today's Facebook post, you would have seen her.
And I know the last name is Rose. Help me out with the first name.
Willie
Rose.
Yes.
Awesome. Yep. Yes. Awesome. Those are so good. And like I say, everyone needs to really watch your Facebook and pay attention because this is such valuable information. And, students can find out so much for school projects, the information, the history right on your site and go in. And now, what are your hours right now for people to come in?
Our hours are back to normal. So Monday through Friday, 10 to 5 and Saturday, 10 to 3.
Okay. And Saturday, 10 to 3. Wonderful. And people really, there's so much that they can glean from just, coming in and getting all that information. Now, do you have anything specific that you're featuring right now other than women's history? I know you've done so many different features.
Yeah, so the first 3 months, typically we do Black history, women's history, and then we'll do Confederate history. So February.
Confederate. Okay. Okay, great. So much the first quarter.
Yep. And then after that, we just do whatever comes to us. So,
okay.
Yep. We find something, do something genealogy. We just take a little bit of everything. So,
yeah. Yep. Well, we're looking forward to it because it's been so power-packed so far. All right. So let's keep going with learning more about you two in the mix, and then I'll come back and do a few just random women's history trivia questions. So for you, if you were to leave the biggest positive impact on someone, and let's just say you only had a few minutes with them, how would you say, maybe at a networking event, a Zoom call, however that you wanted to make a big impact, but you knew that you only had a short time with them, what would you say, what would your topic of conversation be, and why would you focus on that?
Typically when I'm meeting someone or just talking with someone on general, I typically want to show a genuine invested interest and respect for that person and their story. So typically I like the conversation to be about them, get to know who they are, what they're doing. So I always feel like it's very key to whoever you're talking to that they feel comfortable with you, that you show them who you are without trying to be something you're not, because there's only one you and it's important to be you. So that's typically what I like to focus on, is just making sure they know that I'm actively listening and engaging in their conversation. So not necessarily one particular thing, I would say, but an overall conversation of just genuineness. So
that's a great answer, because truly it can change depending on who you're talking to and, what that person is interested in. If you're focusing in on what their interest is, then it would be changing, right? Mm-hmm. And I love that. So what do you feel the next generation needs to help them connect with their communities at an earlier age?
I would say getting started in the areas you are passionate about today and not waiting for tomorrow. I know there's a lot of obstacles in life, both good and bad. Obstacles don't have to be bad. They could be big highlights. They could be college, marriage, kids, but never letting something good stop you from doing something that you're passionate about now. Working in the world of local history and genealogy, one of the saddest things I see day after day after day is people come in and they're typically after retirement age, and they tell me my biggest regret is not starting this earlier. I didn't see a need for it. I didn't have an interest in it. And I regret it because now I don't have those generations to talk to. And especially with genealogy and local family history, if your great grandmother's no longer living, well, you don't have her stories. All you have now are the records. So I always say, don't wait. Don't wait until the perfect time, because you don't know when that perfect time will be. The perfect time's now. If you're excited about something, if you're passionate about something, find where you can fit in at any level. Elementary school through post-grad to retirement. You can fit into your passion anywhere. So don't wait.
That's right. And grandparents can get their grandchildren involved. Even schools can do more, with helping to have projects that are pertaining to the genealogy and the history somehow. So I think all that matters, and just getting the students more engaged in what is their history and more about their community too, because you want them to be involved and turn into community builders so that they will come back and in turn give to their community where they were raised. And certainly that's what we're about at the Chamber is, building that workforce and helping them to come back and, work in Bedford. And we certainly have a lot to offer here. So we want to make sure that they know what is here for them and to make sure that they connect with those businesses. So there is a lot, but there's a lot of history here, and just making sure that they are aware and they are connecting and just realizing that there is so much history here.
Yeah,
and there's so much to value.
Yeah, there doesn't have to be just dates and dusty old books. History is a living thing that we, can rely on and look back to. So,
and when you do, I feel like it does come alive. Because sometimes when you read something just one time, it may just sit there. But then when you really go the deeper dive and you're looking into the whole story, I feel like it kind of brings you to a different level.
Exactly.
And a deeper meaning too. So, and family history will absolutely do that.
Oh, yes.
Every time. Well, a few more questions we can do. And so just random, who was the first American woman poet whose poetry was published in London in 1650? And these are randomly chosen off the internet. That is Anne Bradstreet, 1612 to 1672. Another one, who was the United States delegate to the United Nations who championed and won approval of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1948, which is Eleanor Roosevelt. October 11th, 1984 to November 7th, 1962. So that is just random leaders. And, it's just wonderful to be able to share such great stories. And we look forward to more leaders coming to us in Bedford and really diving into their passion and investing into their community. So we'll look forward to telling more stories. But thank you so much for coming on today and sharing about the history and our Bedford women that have been leaders. And we'll look forward to hearing more from you in the coming months. And then we'll look for an event that will be coming up this fall that we'll announce later.
Sounds good. Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much. Have a great day.